So I kind of kept it quiet, but then I realized that's dumb. Like that's like I should be proud of this and I should share my journey. And then sharing my journey is when I realized, oh my gosh, just sharing my journey is inspiring people.
Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today's guest is a high school counselor with 31 years in education, a former competitive barrel racer, and a living example that it is never too late to step into something bold. She began competing in bikini in 2022 at the encouragement of her late boyfriend, a journey that holds both deep grief and profound purpose. And what started as a brave step forward became so much more, with her winning her pro card at North Americans in 2024 and then making a pro debut in 2025 at 55 years old, where she placed second at the St. Pete Pro, then went on to win both the Chicago Pro and San Antonio Pro in the 55 plus categories, which is incredible. Really redefining what's possible in this sport at any age and in life in general. So welcome to the show, Sandy Arave. How are you doing?
Hi, good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. I realized we kind of coordinated a little bit without realizing. It's a bright color, right? It's nice.
Yeah.
It brings the happiness. So before we jump in, I got to ask if there's anything you do or think about right before your heel hits the stage.
Oh gosh, so many things. The first one is please don't let me trip or fall.
For real.
Honestly, that's been something that I've reflected on. Um, kind of it was different at the beginning of the journey that it is now, but it's really a reminder that you are supposed to be here. You've done the work. Just go out there and enjoy the moment and kind of showcase everything that you've done and be proud, regardless of the outcome. Just enjoy the moment.
That's really, really good. And I like how you said, you're supposed to be here because sometimes we can get in our heads and go, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this show. You look around, you get too caught up in it instead of just going, no, I've worked very hard. I deserve to be here and I'm supposed to be at this show.
Yes, yes, because the other women are all incredible and it's inspiring to be there. But it's okay to go out there and not win. It's still a win. It's what I've
Exactly.
learned. That took some time, but not winning first is still a win in your life.
Is that because of your competitive background in barrel racing that you had this like drive to win?
Oh, I'm anyone who knows me will probably say that's been my entire life. As a
Yeah.
kid, I competed in gymnastics. I always rode horses pretty much since I was a young child. And then becoming competitive in barrel racing probably did take that to a new level for sure. And then doing this, I just have that desire to always be the best that I can be. And it doesn't necessarily mean like comparing my journey or myself to others. It's just I'm going to put in all the work that I can put in to be the best that I can be.
Sure. Yeah. And sometimes with competing, we correlate effort with outcome when in reality, bodybuilding, it doesn't matter how much effort you've put in. At the day is the day, and what
Yeah,
happens is what happens. And you could have been in prep the longest, you could have had the most experience in the sport. Doesn't matter. The girl next to you who maybe has never stepped on stage, barely put in 4 weeks of a prep, could still beat you. That's just the reality.
that is the reality. And that's a hard thing to learn, but I've discovered that over my few years doing this and have really realized that it's just about if you did everything that you could do to control the outcome, ultimately, that's the only thing that really matters.
Yeah, I'd rather look back, like I look back on my journey actually, and I'm glad that I can say, despite all the placings, which I can't remember every single placing off the top of my head, like I have to pull up my notes section, first of all, so there's that. But second of all, the thing I do remember is how much effort and how much growth and personal development came from committing to this journey, from committing to this sport. And that's truly what made me feel more fulfilled than anything.
Right. I agree. It's really become about the journey for me. And I don't think that was what I had set out to do when I started this, because I
Hmm.
really didn't think there was going to be a journey. I thought there was going to be one and done.
Yeah.
But it's the journey that has made my life completely different than before I did this.
Well, let's talk about that because I'm curious who you were, how you would have described yourself before competing, and ultimately what then made you go, you know what? Yeah, I'll go ahead and take a stab at this.
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. I was kind of in between this stage in life where I had been competing and with my horses, and that transitioned to my daughter competing more. So as she got a little bit older, it kind of shifted from the two of us doing it together to me focusing on her
Mm,
competing, and she started competing on my horse, so I kind of took the back seat. And so it was really all about focusing on her journey and helping her be successful in the world of rodeo. Like those behind me are all the ones that she's
that's
won over the
amazing.
years.
Wow.
Yeah, I
That's
know. She
incredible. I thought that
has
was like a family mix of wins. Those are all your daughters.
all my
Holy
daughters.
moly.
Yes. So I kind of took a back seat to being this mom who, I was the rodeo mom. I rode horses and and I helped other kids
Yeah.
along the way too, which was always really fun to help other young girls in their journey with their horses. So I was kind of in this, I was always still in the gym and just doing different things. I would train with a trainer and then I would go back to just kind of doing my own thing. And so that's where I was. And I was just kind of like, I don't know what I
Hmm.
want to do. And it was David, my boyfriend, who had passed away in 2024. He was the one who said, you should really compete. Like, why not? Like, you're in great shape and I think you should do it. And I thought he was insane. And
I
I was
love
like,
it.
there's no way I'm doing this. Are you kidding me right now? I don't even like to, I wasn't like the girl in the gym with like the sports bra. I was not that. I'm more conservative, I guess.
Mhm.
And that's really where it all started. He's the one who said, I really think you should do it. And I, on a whim, said, okay, I'm going to go for it.
Wow. How did he know about bodybuilding and competing in bikini?
I have no idea. Well, now that's a good question. I think he just was aware that
Yeah.
that's out there. And, I honestly, I was training at kind of a camp kind of fitness place. You kind of go
Mhm.
in and they tell you what to do. And it was just an in and out hour thing. And one of the girls who taught the classes there was going through her first prep and competition. And so I think there was a little conversation about that. And that's when he's like, you should do it. You can do it.
For sure.
Okay, here I am.
Well, that's interesting because I feel like you obviously were well accomplished in many areas of life. You are fit and you were fit at the time too. You were an athlete already. You were committed to some sort of program. So, what did he see in you regarding competing before maybe you saw it in yourself?
Gosh, I think part of him saw that drive, that competitiveness,
Mm.
that spirit. I think he also kind of wanted to get me out of my comfort zone a little bit. I think he saw that I was kind of going along and not really doing anything for myself. Like I was going about the motions, but I wasn't doing anything that was super fulfilling for me.
Mm.
And I think that was the challenge there was go do something that is totally different that you've never done before and take a risk because I probably wasn't like a huge risk taker in like my own life.
Hmm. Do you notice a similarity at all in the mindsets that were required for barrel racing, as well as even refining your daughter's journey in that to competing?
Oh, 100%. 100%. You
Really?
know, I was always that with my horses, I
Mhm.
always expected them to perform really well. So I took their like health and athletic ability, it was my responsibility to make sure that they were fit and that they were well taken care of,
Mhm.
rested. So, and it was the same with my daughter. Like we worked really hard to keep, she rode an older horse for a while, and we had to work really hard to keep him healthy and to make sure he stayed fit. And people used to give me such a hard time because I was always out with my horses. I was making sure they were exercised on a regular basis. I would go out there when it was muddy and rainy and cold. And I'm like, well, like if I expect them to perform at their
Mhm.
best, then I have to be the one to keep them that way. It's my
Hmm.
responsibility. So definitely knowing that this sport takes that same kind of drive and discipline, it transferred very well.
Yeah, sounds like it. Because sometimes it's harder on days that are, you could say, more like weather dependent. It's hard for a competitor to get out and want to get to the gym when they've got to drive through snow, they've got to layer up, and then they've got to get there.
Yes.
Or you just even the challenge of prep in general, when you start getting into those trenches, it can be harder to want to get up off the couch, even just to do simple tasks around the house. So it sounds like the discipline and caring for the animals and caring for yourself actually led to a love and an ability to execute on the discipline required for competing.
Yes. Yes. Because in my mind, bodybuilding and competing in bodybuilding is really about discipline. It can't be about how you feel. It can't be about emotion.
Right.
There are days where you just have to drag yourself out of bed and put on whatever is there and get to the gym.
Hmm.
And then, still get to work, still manage, high school students that are, coming at me sometime at every angle and, had 70 grams of carbs and I've already been to the gym and they didn't do what I asked them to do for the fifth time. And I have to still be like, okay, well, let's figure this out.
Lord of mercy.
Yes.
Yeah, bless you for doing that work. That's good work.
Yeah, I do love it. I do love it. And it is very rewarding. But when
Yeah.
you're deep in the, ends of prep and you're competing in, 3 weeks out and it's the end of the school year. And I warn everybody at work, like, I get 50 grams of carbs today. Like, give me some grace. If I say something inappropriate, just call me on it.
I love it. So your work environment's supportive of this.
Very, very, I was very leery
Yeah.
to say anything at the beginning, but then, and I kept it really off my social media too. I was afraid, I guess I was too vulnerable. Like I didn't want people to judge. Because I feel like some people do, I mean, some people sexualize it, right? Some people think that
Exactly.
um, you shouldn't do that. It's not healthy. So I kind of kept it quiet, but then I realized that's dumb. Like that's like I should be proud of this and I should share my journey. And then sharing my journey is when I realized, oh my gosh, just sharing my journey is inspiring people.
Hmm.
Oh,
Well, and I think too, when you share your passions and the things that interest you, other people will either want to seek out their own passions or they start to share their passions
mhm.
more openly. And I'm curious if you experience that, like more people starting to tell you about things that they like outside of work.
I do. I think that at work, I have some really great friends that have, they're colleagues, but they've become friends. And it's fun to see their journeys. I have one of like a really good one that she just loves pickleball. Like she's just constantly playing pickleball and trying to get
Wow.
better at pickleball. So it's fun to listen to her journey and the different tournaments that she's doing and that kind of stuff. So it is fun to get to know what other people are doing. It's also awesome to have them really proud because I'm also
Mhm.
a little humble when it comes to like, how'd you do? And I'll say, oh, I did great. And they're like, oh my gosh, you won first. What do you mean you did great? So I kind of think they kind of get after me too about being a little more proud or, share my accomplishments.
Yeah. Why do you think you're like that? Why do you think you hide that success, or maybe are quick to just say, "Yeah, great," instead of, "Yeah, I got first. It was this amazing show."
I don't know. I think there's a big part of me in this last year has been trying to learn to be more reflective instead of chasing the next goal. I think that's
Mhm.
part of why I never wanted, like, I was a little less willing to share because I was always on to the next goal already. So it was like it was done.
Oh.
I'm ready to move on. So we're not going to talk about that because what's next? So this year I've tried to like sit in that win for a moment, give myself that time to say it's okay to be proud of the win. You did win and you should be proud to say that you won, but don't be arrogant about it, you know?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you don't strike me as someone who could even cross into that into that territory of arrogance, because clearly you've worked very hard for what it is that you've accomplished as well, and have even faced some challenges along the way. And I want to hear more about that, because if I researched correctly, you stepped on stage less than a month after your boyfriend's passing. Is that right?
So it was May of May of 2024 and the goal was to get to Universe. And so Paul Ravella is my coach, and he wanted me to get a warm-up show done and get in front of Sandy. Kind of the goal was to Sandy because we were hoping she was going to be the judge that I would
Mhm.
see at the Nationals that summer. So was the end of May, and I was just grinding away, right? Those weeks where you're an hour of cardio in the morning and then your lift and then an hour of cardio in the afternoon, after work and
Mhm.
pulling my hair out. I was going to the gym and then I was going to work and then I had to go back to the gym because I didn't have any cardio equipment at school at home. So my family is super supportive. I'm very grateful.
Oh.
She said, I'm going to buy you a treadmill. Just go and get a treadmill. So we went to get the treadmill, came home. He was helping me to unload it at my house. And I stepped away for a moment to help ask a neighbor to come see if they could help us because there was no way the two of us were going to pull this treadmill and lift it out. And I literally walked away for a minute and I came back to find him on my garage floor. And at first I was like, really? I didn't take that long. I thought he was a jokester. So I
Right. Yeah.
like laid down in my garage.
Yeah.
That moment just unraveled to be one of the most traumatic and painful days of my life because
Sure.
he had suffered a massive stroke. I had no idea at the
Mm.
moment, but in the trauma of like you can't find your cell phone, you can't, you don't know what to do, the poor lady, those 911 operators, I was probably cussing and screaming and yelling at her because it felt like an hour right before the ambulance
Yeah.
got there. So that was it was only really 2 weeks prior to
Hmm.
me the show that I was going to go do in Sacramento, and that happened on a Sunday, and then on Wednesday he had passed. So it was just this whirlwind of that is the true saying that your life changes in an instant.
That's
And
right.
I never believed that. I never understood how emotionally wrecked you can become in an instant, and how grief can consume you, and how much more empathetic I have become as a human being because I experienced great loss, because I experienced great love. And
Mm.
I've kind of learned that that's really why grief hurts so bad, because there's the absence of that love that
Yeah.
I okay. So,
Mm.
and
No,
here I am
please.
over a year later, right?
Oh,
Like, it's still
please.
raw and it's
Yeah.
still painful because like I don't have that person, right? Like that person.
Yeah.
So, um I I was like gonna throw my hands up, you know. And my sister was she was the one who said, "Sandy, you he would want you to do this. He would not want you to quit. And you've worked so hard. You should do I think you should keep going." And Paul was like, "You tell me. Like it is whatever you want to do, Sandy. I will support you if you want me to help you keep going. I support you if you decide that you need to take time away. You are in charge of this, and I will back whatever you decide." And so I don't know how I did it. And I look back to this day and I still think, I don't know how I did that. I got myself in my car and I drove the 8 hours to Sacramento because that's where it was. I'm in Southern California. So, California is a long way from the north, south to the north.
Mhm.
And I drove, I cussed, I cried, I
Mhm.
screamed, I blared the music, and I did it. Like, I proved to myself that I could do one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life was to show up at that show when I was in the worst pain that I've ever experienced in my life.
Mhm. Wow, I commend you for sharing that, first of all. So thank you for telling us that story and with such raw emotions as well, because I know that's not easy.
No, no. Okay, my vacuum just turned on. I'm gonna have to turn it off.
Really? I don't hear it, by the
You
way.
don't hear it? Okay.
No. So if that's what you're worried about, it's not a problem.
Well, when it comes over here, I'll turn it off.
He's like, I'm gonna come check on you, make sure you're good.
That's hilarious. And then I forgot that would happen. Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Sorry. Maybe you
It's
edit that
okay.
out.
Rubo is like, I'm the star now.
Okay. Got
Well, like I was saying, I'm really glad you shared that because I think that one, it puts things in perspective for people who have never lost, but also it puts things in perspective for people who have. And um I don't know about you, but when I had lost my mom, I had this feeling of none of this matters. What's the point of all this when I just lost the most important person in my life? Like I couldn't imagine anything being more, I don't know, everything kind of lost its color.
Yes.
And it was very difficult to continue. And having a support system, like you described, was super helpful for me as well.
Mhm.
And still going to the gym, I was like, well, this is the predictable normal. It was almost like the one thing that I still had some level of maybe control or predictability around after such a sudden traumatic loss. And I was curious if for you, you had any of those feelings of like, what's the point? None of this really matters. What, like bodybuilding isn't important when you consider this.
Yes, I did. I really did. I thought, why am I going to do this? This was something that he, encouraged me to do. And what is it if he's not here to support me and walk with me on this journey? because we had kind of gotten to that point where it was like, we're going to go for the pro card. Like this was,
Oh,
and I think back now, and I even tell people now, don't chase the card. Don't chase the card. Like I have a card, it has not changed my life. In the big scheme of things, like yes, it was a goal, but in the big, when I look back now, it's really the journey. It's the journey. It's all the things that you learn along the way. And after losing him, part of my journey became continuing on doing what he would would have loved to see me finish.
yeah,
It also became my reason, one of my reasons to get out of bed in the morning. It
exactly.
became the reason why I didn't allow myself to stay in bed, to not show up for my family, to to kind of like drown myself in the grief. I was able to take that pain and bring it with me. So it used to weigh me down. It used to be something that I had to work to overcome the weight of it. And now it's something that I carry lightly,
Mm.
and it still is a part of me, but now I can see it as something that has made me who I am today. And it will always be with me as a reminder of what we shared and who he helped me become.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that so much. Like, I actually, I again, I can relate a lot because bodybuilding is the thing that made sure I ate and made sure I moved and made sure I got out of the house. Like, it kept me in a state of living when, like, otherwise I could have just, yeah, sunk into the bed and,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly what you described. And you said earlier, grief changes you and it changes you in a lot of ways. I'm curious how it's impacted how you interact with other people in life, your relationships, even with your children.
Do you know, it's definitely impacted me at work.
Hmm.
I I I've always, obviously in 31 years, you have kids who have suffered great loss, lost a parent, a sibling, even a grandparent. And I would always, help them the best I could, encourage them to, seek out more counseling too. Because while I'm a counselor, I'm not a mental health counselor, I'm an academic guidance counselor. So I don't have the mental health training it takes to deal with somebody that has suffered great loss. But now I feel so much more empathetic with them. Have I had a student this year who came back to school after losing his mother to um over the summer, and he was struggling so bad, and there was a day where I just told him my story, like in probably way more emotional than I had ever intended to get.
Yeah.
But he was suffering so bad, it and I think he felt like he didn't want, like, it was wrong that he felt that pain, or like he didn't want people to
Right.
know. And I said, this is normal. You're supposed to feel
Mhm.
this pain, and this pain is gonna like suck for a really long time, and it's not supposed to go away. And knowing that I shared in those same type of really traumatic and hard to deal with emotions,
Oh, yeah.
it makes it easier for me to help them, I think, as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think it offers a perspective on the emotional depths and pains that can come from that type of loss or any loss in general, where you go, what you're feeling, it's actually what you're supposed to feel. It'd be strange if you didn't. And
Yes.
it's good that you do. And when someone's grieving, it's like there's no right words to say, as you likely experienced too. It's just having someone present with you or to share, um, whether that's sympathetically or empathetically, it really does mean so much. And hearing your story too, like I think about my husband and I'm like, I can't even imagine. Like I cannot imagine losing the love of my life. And um
Mhm.
I'm wondering for you how long were you guys together? Like what was it that made your life together so special and full of love?
So it's one of those funny stories. We had actually dated while we were in high school.
Really? Wow.
And then we each went our separate ways. I had a marriage for 17 years. There was plenty of years where it was wonderful until it wasn't. And, raised a beautiful daughter.
Mm.
And blame Facebook. We reconnected on Facebook.
Naturally.
That sounds so cliche. We reconnected on Facebook, and it was like we never like it was like we never really missed like 30 years. I don't know, it'd been since we were
Yeah.
like 30 years basically since we saw each other. And we kind of just picked up right where we left off. And
Oh.
uh he was just like this guy who loved life. He owned a business and loved boating and all this like bigger, larger than life kind of guy. And he really encouraged me to just go out there and do what I thought that I couldn't do.
Mm. Mm.
Mhm.
So he was a motivator, he was an encourager, and he was an example. It sounds like he lived in a way that was bold and loud, and that was a inspiration to you.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Oh, and you
Yeah.
guys, so you had reconnected after, was he married as well?
He was and has three wonderful kids that he raised as well, two boys
Oh.
and a girl. All three are very successful, and he loved them. Oh, he was just the dad who would do anything for his kids, and it
Hmm.
was obvious, that he really cared about them, and that was his why for a lot of things was making sure that his kids had great lives and that they could go on and be successful young adults, and they did, and they still are to this day. So that's good. So we had 10 really good years of
Wow.
togetherness and kind of raising our kids, even though we were kind of separate as far as like we made sure like, well, you raise yours, I'm gonna do this, and when they're all gone,
Mhm.
then we're kind of, and that's where we were. All of our
Mm.
kids were off at college, and we were kind of like, okay, what's next? Where are we going? What's retirement going to look like? Where are we going to live? Those are
Mm.
all the things that were where the conversation was going when he passed away. So then that was me going, crap.
Now what?
Now what? Now what? And
Mhm.
I still ask myself that sometimes, but this last year I did more. I said yes more. I said yes more. I
Wow.
did more. I traveled more. I thought less about why it might not be the best decision and took a few risks and
Mm.
fell flat on my face a few times. But I feel like that's where I'm at in my life. Like it's time to say yes. It's time to take the risks. It's time to continue challenging yourself to do new and different things.
There's so much there that I find really beautiful and special. And also I can imagine, and the reason I find it beautiful and special is because of the pain that comes with it, to be honest with you. When you lose someone, you are not just grieving all the life you had, you're grieving the life you didn't have with
Mhm.
that person.
Mhm.
And it seems as though it doesn't matter how much time or experiences or events, how many holidays, none of that matters how much you go through because you can continue to think about, well, if only they were here to see this. And so instead of saying, no, I'm done, I'm gonna step back and I'm not gonna be this ambitious go-getter person anymore because of this loss, you're like, no, I'm gonna continue and I'm gonna say yes, I'm actually gonna do it more and bigger and better. And you weren't discouraged by it. You made a plan and just kind of went with it. It sounds like you actually entered more of a risk taker version of yourself than before. What has that season of your life taught you? Like, what's this last year changed about you and made in your life so much better or different?
I think knowing that falling flat on my face or failing is part of my success. Because even though I took a risk and maybe it didn't work, it didn't ruin my life, right? Failure is not it shouldn't be looked at as something bad because it's the only way we're going to grow.
That's
So
right.
by doing things that I wouldn't have normally done, and maybe they worked out and maybe that they didn't, it it just made my life better for taking the risk and moving forward with it. Just do it. Like, don't wait, don't think it through. It might be a terrible idea, at the end, but at least you did it. Like, just go
Yeah.
for it, Sandy, because honestly, as stupid as it sounds, life is too short. Buy the plane ticket, go see the friend, say yes to the outing, go get tacos, whatever it
That's
is.
right. Come on.
Now I
Exactly.
really feel like that's more how I want to live my life than sitting at home feeling sad because I don't have the opportunities to do what I thought I was going to do. It's now my responsibility to make it happen for myself because no one's going to do it for me.
That's right. And like essentially rewriting the story that you guys had started writing together,
Yeah. Yes.
having to um navigate what that looks like on your own.
Yeah.
And thinking about some of the things that you've done in the last year or so, what have been some of your greatest memories or those even those fall flat on your face moments that made you go, okay, wait, now I'm better because of it?
Well, one of the best things that I did was last year, I met another girl that has Paul as her coach. Her name's Rhonda. Rhonda lives in Clearwater, Florida. We never met until what was that, Universe. She competed at Universe and I competed at Universe. And somehow, like backstage, the two of us connected and and then we just kind of we were Instagram friends and kind of started talking. And then she was going to go on to TCM, right? If I'm
Mhm.
doing the order right. So she decided to go on. She was trying to get her pro card.
Okay.
So we, like, during her time, she's going on and I'm like encouraging her and we're texting all the time and she wins her pro card.
Yay.
And then she's like, the next one's yours, the next one's yours. So I'm grinding away to North Americans, and ultimately I won mine.
Hmm.
So we made a pact that we would do our first pro show together.
Oh, wow.
So we decided on St. Pete's, and she lives right there. She lives in Clearwater, Florida. So all that whole year, we literally texted each other every day. We would text while we were doing cardio.
I
We would
love it. Yeah, get
send
it.
each
Get
other
it.
send each other like videos of our feet on the treadmill. We would bitch and complain. We
Uh-huh.
would all the things. And then we like saw each other in St. Pete's, and that was like the best hug I think I've ever gotten in my life.
Oh,
And we
Mm.
competed together, and then I spent a couple days with her and her husband at their beautiful home in Clearwater, Florida. And it was like it just came like full circle. Like we committed to this, we were gonna do this, and we saw it through. And it was probably one of the best weekends of my life
Wow.
since since everything had happened to me. So
Yeah, yeah.
and to this day, we text every day, we check in with each other every day, we send our check-in pictures to each other.
Oh, I love that.
Just become this great friendship. So we our goal is to compete again together one day, but I think I'm gonna try to get out there and see her during spring break, just because it's
Oh,
just become this amazing friendship that I'm so grateful for. So that was one of the things. And then just doing, I did a couple other trips with a very old friend. One of them was just like at the whim. I went to New Jersey. I went to this crazy over the top wedding with a friend from high
wow.
school. And then after I did Chicago Pro, he came to Chicago and we just like went through Chicago after my show for the
Wow.
weekend, and Wrigley Field and hot dogs and pizza and just and that was what I just hadn't done. I hadn't just been in the moment. And
Mm.
that's what I choose to do more now. Be in the moment.
I really like that and appreciate that perspective. I sometimes still struggle to just be in the moment. Actually, I feel like that's I haven't set any like goals or resolutions other than my word is to be present because with a baby on the way, I'm like who knows, and that's all I want is to just be in that next moment. And it's strange, you can look back on a lot of the times you make all these plans and then they change so much. Sometimes they come to fruition, like what you experienced with Rhonda, but it still came to fruition better than you could have imagined or
Absolutely.
planned. And it's,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can say, as someone whose daughter is almost going to be 21, enjoy the moments. As a new mom, take them all
Mhm.
in and don't rush them. Enjoy the poopy diapers, there's gonna be a lot of them. And don't don't rush it all, because one day it will go by so fast and you don't get those moments back. So stay in them,
Mhm.
enjoy them, and don't try not to get frustrated when all of it is very overwhelming, because it is. And I definitely struggled after having a baby with some postpartum depression. So
Hmm.
there is a lot that comes with being a new mom. So hopefully you can take some time and step back and just revel in this amazing child that you created and enjoy watching them become a wonderful human.
Aw.
Great
Thank you
journey.
for saying that. I appreciate that. I know that's not just touching me, but others as well. And I think too, when you had said you're saying yes more, and you were saying how you don't turn certain things down. How I have clients who struggle sometimes with this idea of being okay with spontaneity or the idea of saying yes because they worry about how it'll affect them as athletes, as competitors, as this journey progresses. And I'd love to hear your take on it. Like, what would you tell someone who is setting aside so much outside of competing, so much of their outside life for competing? Like, how would you tell them or support them or encourage them to integrate more life into their journey?
I would say that it's a very important part of it, because you can create your own very isolated world when bodybuilding, because we feel like it's all or nothing, but it's really not all or nothing. And there are certain times, yes, when you're 4 weeks out or 3 weeks out,
Yeah.
and you can't go out to dinner. And you can go out to dinner. You just need to make sure your friends understand, like, I'm not gonna eat. But ultimately, that's you need to be around people. You need to say yes to the activities or the invites. And those people who know what your journey is understand if you bring your food or if you don't eat or you have to go home early because you need to get to bed. It's the moments that you'll never be able to get back if you don't do it. So saying yes and showing up is important for yourself as well as the people who love you and want to share time with you as well. Don't limit that. Just don't limit it. Don't. It's too important to show up for others too sometimes, to show them
Yes.
that they matter to you, that they're important to you, that their encouragement you love and enjoy. So you're going to reciprocate that because it can be a really lonely journey if you let it be.
Hmm. That is so important. What you just said is like I love that. I love that so much because it's easy to get caught up in me, me, me. What I gotta do, what I gotta do. You forget that when someone's inviting you, they want your presence. Maybe they need your presence. Maybe they desire your presence, or maybe, um, there's something that they're wanting to sacrifice some of their own time and energy and goals to spend time with you. And often, we think maybe if we get in our heads, oh, it's obligatory. It's what, but these days is so like we're making plans with people 3 months in advance. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Right.
it's like it's not always like that. So to be able to have someone who you get to be there for, that's not
Yeah.
just yourself.
Right.
I That is the perspective I think we need more refreshing of, because it's like it's not just for you. Yes, you'll be isolated if you say no all the time. Yes, you could end up depressed. Yes, you could end up too self-absorbed in this journey. But beyond that, like, did you know that you're here for a reason too, and your presence actually impacts others just like theirs impacts you? And if when you go through loss, I think this is another thing that occurs, you realize, wow, there's someone who might grieve me the way I'm grieving this person that I loved.
Mhm.
And to be able to be a loving presence for someone else is like saying no to that to, over and over and over again. Like, for what?
Right. And eventually they're not going to ask you.
Yeah.
Your friends will only try so many times before the no, they don't want to hear the no anymore. So that they don't try. And it's not on them. I think a lot of it is on the person who always says no. So, and I
Mhm.
caught myself doing that for a while
Oh, yeah.
because it was too hard. I was too sad. But was I, or was it just easier to say no because I didn't have to force myself to be there for somebody else when I felt like I couldn't even be there for myself. But learning to be there for other people made me better, made me take care of myself better. I don't know, that probably sounds weird, but
No, sounds right.
by showing up or encouraging others or just, sometimes a friend just needs an ear, right? And sometimes it could just be something super simple. They just want to talk, whatever it is, or they're struggling with their spouse and they don't really have anyone to talk to, but they feel like they can confide in you. And if you're always telling them no, then sometimes you're letting them down when you don't even realize that they need you because you're being too self-absorbed. So I've forced myself to remember that
Mhm.
people need you just like you need them. And I've had so many amazing friends be there for me that I want to be that person that could be there for them.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. And I think too, sometimes people are worried about like, how do I say no to some invites without saying no altogether? And I
Mhm.
like to encourage people, like, suggest an alternative. Like, if you don't want to go out for Taco Tuesday, ask them if they'd like to go for a walk or for coffee. If you're getting towards those phases where it's a little bit harder, maybe invite them over if they're close enough friend, invite them over for just to watch a fun movie together.
Yeah.
Like, literally just being in each other's presence. And I had a mentor who he's passed away, but I we became good friends. But he used to say, whatever it is that you need more of or want more of in your life, start by giving it first. So it's like if you need more love or want more love in your life, see where you can give it, see how you can serve, see how you can support. And which speaks to your point of the more you showed up for others, the more you found you were showing up for yourself too.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. And that's another big part of I have when I first started and I walked backstage, at my
Mhm.
first national show and I walked backstage, I was like, oh, I don't belong here.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Look at these women, they're all over 50 and they're blowing me away. But as good as their physiques were, their personalities and friendships were a million times better.
That's
And the people I have met through this journey have been the ones that have kept me going in this journey. And they are the ones who inspire me to be better, to keep going. And they also inspire me to inspire others. You know,
that's right.
that's kind of, I feel like that's my next step. I feel like I want to take everything that I've learned and possibly become like a transformation coach and
Great.
help other women reach their goals that they think are unattainable when they're really not. They're really not.
I love
And
that.
I had a friend text me last night. I worked 2 hours of overtime and I'm trying to figure out what's what I'm gonna make for dinner, but you're in my head. I hear you in my head. Just go walk on that treadmill. And she's not, I'm
Love it.
gonna do it before I go to bed. I'm gonna
Wow.
be on that treadmill. I'm like, those are the things now
Wow.
that make me so happy when somebody asks me, how do I how do I get healthier? Or how do I change how I feel? Or how do you meal prep or those kind of things now? That's where that kind of fuels me and makes me so happy that my journey can inspire somebody else to just be better, just make
Wow.
one lifestyle change. One thing that makes them happier is what I feel maybe that's like a purpose, like the bigger purpose behind this whole journey.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's a reason for so much of what you've been through outside of yourself, and now you're seeing the influence and that domino effect that your story is already having.
Yeah. Yes.
So I want to ask you about some of your winning your pro card, making your pro debut. You had won your class, but not the overall at Masters Nationals in 2023. How is that right?
Yes.
You're okay. I know sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like, sure, I did.
Right. So
Like,
I switched to Paul that
yes,
summer.
that's right.
And then we went and did that because it was in Anaheim. And he was kind of like, I think we should wait. And I said, well, it's like in my backyard. It's really the only one
Yeah.
that was close by. He's like, well, if you want to do it, I'll support you. So let's see, but know that you have to win the overall. Okay. And then there you go. I won my class, but I didn't win the overall.
Yeah. Well, it's a very competitive show for a reason.
It
And
is.
I think it sounds like it wasn't a decision you regretted though. And
It
how long after you hired Paul did you do that show?
was only 6 months.
Okay, so he was kind of like, we'll see. What was his
Mhm.
hesitation about it other than having to win the overall?
That just it didn't give us a lot of time to like improve my physique from where I was because I had competed at TCM that year, did pretty well, but then decided to switch things up and went with him. So it didn't give us a ton of time, but it did give us that opportunity to prep together, which every prep that you
Yes.
do with a coach, they just learn more about you. So I do think in the end, it was a really, really good decision for us to do that before we went into the next year where we were really going to try to go for the pro card. Yes.
Yeah, I tend to err on the side of do a prep with your coach. and then readjust from there
Mhm.
rather than the opposite. At least if you're already kind of in that mode, just because, like you said, you learn so much.
Mhm.
And um, you can also learn how they might respond to some of what you've already been doing. And like I got to see my coach, how he refined, he took me from a very not great place and like transformed it into something so much better. So, for you, you went, you won your class, you didn't win the overall. You then responded to that result. You didn't, or yeah, you responded to that result because you decided to keep going. So, when you came back, you won your pro card. What had to happen between the previous show and that one to earn that title?
So there was definitely a building season. We went from that was November. So we went from there until in early spring is when we decided to do that May show, and then I was going to do Universe. So I spent that whole winter and into that spring just pushing myself as best I could in the gym, learning a lot more about training and intensity and form, and just putting more effort into like studying the sport a little bit, and a new posing coach, so kind of changing things up. And then we then, my life went a little sideways, but then I did that May show, and I got really good feedback from Sandy, and she said, just show up. You just need to show up. And Paul's like, we're not just showing up. So I needed to drop a little bit. I needed a little more conditioning to go into to Universe. And then we went to Universe, and again I did good. I think I was, it's hard. You don't always remember your placing. I was in the top three, I believe.
Mhm.
And the feedback was a little bit on my posing. So it's always been my crutch. I got a little feedback about my front pose, nailing my front pose a little bit more. And then obviously a little more density, put on, a little bit more. So I was kind of, now what do I do? I
Yeah.
had an operation scheduled to have my thyroid removed
Oh, wow.
because they had thought I had some tests that had shown that possibly could be cancerous. So I had it after I got my feedback. Paul was there, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Should we go to TCM? Should we wait till North Americans? And he's the kind of coach, and he said to me, I I don't want you to compete at TCM because I'm gonna have to run you into the ground. Like I'm gonna have to do what I don't want to do and what I don't feel it's not gonna get us the results we need. I need to feed you for a few
Mhm.
weeks. I need to give you a little break. And then we could try for North Americans. And I was like, okay, but let me see if I can reschedule my surgery. And I made him a deal. I said, if
Oh.
I can reschedule my surgery to close, then I'll do it. If I can't, then I have to call it a year. Like I just can't. This is my health is obviously important.
So you were trying to reschedule the surgery
Yes.
sooner?
I was trying to push it to after North Americans if I
Okay.
could. Because it was
Okay.
supposed to be September, for whatever the dates were, or it was supposed to maybe be in August, and that's right when North Americans were. So I was able to, I got on the phone the next day. I rescheduled my surgery to right after. That's right. So I got my surgery to be in September. And so from then until North Americans, I left no stone unturned. I trained with a trainer 3 days a week. She pushed me like I'd never been pushed before. I probably did go into like leave me alone mode. This is what I need to do. This is where I'm at in my life right now, and this is what my goal is. And I'm not gonna show up without knowing that I left nothing on the table, and that's what I did.
Can I ask if part of that was driven by the knowledge that you could have cancer?
uh, Gosh, I've never thought about it like that. It could have the fear. I know I was scared. There was a
Okay.
piece of me. there was a piece of me that kept like like putting that behind me, like that, no, I'm not
Mm.
cancer. It's not going to be cancerous. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. So maybe knowing that my health could totally change after I got it out, depending on what they discovered, probably drove me a little bit subconsciously. I didn't really put a lot of thought into that, but I bet you,
Mm.
now that you ask me that, probably. Hmm.
Well, at the time, like you were focused on your goal too.
Mhm.
And so although your health was the most important part of your health, being prioritized was pushing back your show. And then that was also, pushing back the surgery. So, um, you obviously had a very successful prep. You won your pro card. And when that happened, help me now with the timeline. So you won your pro card. You got the surgery?
Did the month
Wow.
about 3 weeks later.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, do you want to share? Like, was it
So I had my thyroid out. Luckily, there was no cancer in it. So while they had
good?
done a few biopsies that showed like a higher level of like cancerous cells.
Mhm.
Luckily, when they did the pathology on thyroid, it was not cancerous. And the reason being I had family history. My sister had had thyroid cancer in an aunt. So they because they had been watching it for a few years and the abnormal cells kept getting higher on my biopsies,
Mm,
we decided it was just best. And at the time I was already on medication because my thyroid wasn't functioning at optimal levels. So I knew that taking it out probably wasn't going to have a huge impact on me because I was
mhm.
already taking medication to help me stabilize that.
That's a
But
good point. Yeah.
5 days or 6 days after they took it out, I ended up with a massive staph infection that
No way.
I'm lucky it didn't kill me. It
From the
was,
surgery?
yes,
Oh
yes. So
no.
it was probably 10 days post it was healing great. Started to get a little red. And like on day 3, it was really painful. And oh, like
Mm-mm.
10 days of pure hell. The worst pain I've
Yeah,
ever
I bet.
experienced in my life. So unfortunately, I had to go back into the hospital until they figured out what it was. And unfortunately, they had to cut it back open
Mm.
and get the infection out. But I think that because I was so healthy. I mean, probably not at the end of prep. I wasn't like the healthiest, but you know what I mean? Like I take such
Oh,
good
for sure.
care. We take
Exactly.
such good care of ourselves. We make sure that we're eating right. And I think that was one of the things that kept my body from like really, really fighting it because it was not going to let this take over. But it was very scary to
Mm.
have that kind of infection in your neck.
Oh,
And
goodness. Yeah.
yes. So it took me a little while to recover. I remember, I think like a couple days post surgery, I've never missed a check-in. I've never missed a check-in day.
Uh-huh.
One time I think I even sent like a picture of me in the ER.
Yeah. You're like just
Like
checking
checking.
in, not missing it. I get that. Ain't missing
I
it
think
for nothing.
there's a check-in picture of me with like this huge band-aid on my neck.
Do I
Um,
look, coach?
Paul's like, Sandy, oh my gosh. So then we just kind of moved on from there. I had to take a few weeks out the gym but we knew we had time because
Right.
we had to set our pro debut not until the following summer. But
Thank goodness.
gosh, yeah, it was, I'll tell you, like if I'm going to do something, sometimes it goes sideways.
Shoot, I know that. Like you think the worst of it's gonna be the thing, and then something happens after the thing, and you're like, that was not the worst.
Not the worst thing, yes. No, my poor sister, I was like, can you come get me at the hospital again?
Oh, she probably was like, what is going on?
Yes, yes. I went into the ER at a hospital close by because it was in the middle of the
Okay.
night. myself. And then
Oh
he
no, you must
said,
have
well,
been
you
so
have to go
scared.
to the hospital that did your surgery. So they stuck me in an ambulance and took me to another hospital. So
No.
cars at one place, I'm at another place. It was so yes, health problems are no joke. I can laugh about it now, but
Yeah,
it was definitely a
scary.
scary time for sure. Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't matter like how healthy you are, how resilient you are. When you go through something like that, especially when there's unknowns or pain attached to it, it's like don't know what to do. And
Yes.
like my family and I, we laugh about what I faced at the beginning of last year, like with the hemifacial spasms I was having, the myoclonus, all that. And I remember like at the time, I was so scared, but I kept a positive, you know, you keep a positive face, you keep doing what you got to do. Like I was still showing up at the gym, whatever. But it was scary. And all
Very,
like being in the hospital, trying to figure that out, not knowing what's going on. But then a year passes and you're like, that's pretty funny, you know. My dad will send me a photo here and there from that time. And like it's
yes.
great, you know, like
Yes. Yes.
it's good to be able to look back and laugh. But it doesn't take away from the fact that at the time it was very scary.
Very scary. Very scary. So I'm very grateful for my health. I definitely don't take it for granted. And
Right.
I make sure that work with a doctor. I'm very good about making sure that even when I'm in prep that I'm not letting myself be unhealthy for sure.
Yeah, and you said it really well earlier too. Like you believe your healthy lifestyle contributed to being able to have more resilience and recovery through that. And I think sometimes we forget there's so many other benefits to living this life outside of,
Mhm.
you know, great physique or stepping on stage or whatever. But like, you know, you get into your lifestyle phases and you're still very healthy. You know, most people in especially the United States, would not be following the type of lifestyle plan that we do. And I think about how much competing has influenced me through pregnancy as well. Like,
Yeah.
I don't track my food. I'm not tracking my food. But this knowledge and awareness of nourishment, movement, protein, carbs, fats, micronutrients, like all of that is a habit and it feeds decisions. And I think those are the things we have to remember when we're on this journey too. Aside from, yes, I want to win, it's also, am I taking care of my health enough to have longevity, not just in this sport, but facing other things in life? Like, is what I'm doing going to benefit other areas too, which
Right.
yours clearly did.
Right. And I contribute a lot of what I've learned from Paul as far as the healthy part of it. While he also, I mean, of course, he loves to see people win. I honestly don't think that's his drive. I think his drive is to have healthy, happy athletes who want to stay in the sport for a long time.
Right.
That's more what I've learned through this journey is how to live a healthy lifestyle, how to make, informed decisions about what I eat or what I don't eat, or what I do for cardio or what I don't do, that I can take on for the rest of my life and that I can also teach other women. It
That's
doesn't need
right.
to be, yes, I know I'm extreme, sometimes when they say something, I'm like, this isn't, I know I'm not normal.
Right. You're
Why?
like, but like take it down 3 notches, 4 notches, and you know, you'll be really great.
Yeah. Yeah, but the amount of people who even the kids. I had a girl, I was helping a girl at school the other day and she's like, "Oh, I just need to tell you that one day I'm gonna have biceps like yours."
I love that. That is so awesome.
Isn't that
If
cute? And I'm like,
Oh
"You
my
are.
goodness,
I know
great.
you are. You're gonna have those biceps one day." It was so cute and it just like it filled my heart,
Aw.
right? That they're watching you. They're
Yes,
watching you.
they
And
are. It's
yep.
true. I would much rather inspire people into healthy behaviors, whether that's healthy relationships, healthy a spiritual life, and of course, we're talking about healthy body too,
Yeah.
than not. And the fact that you're in a position of great influence in these kids' lives, and they're able to see that, wow, she takes care of herself. And so her encouragement, I think your encouragement can mean a lot more because you clearly demonstrate a level of care, even if they don't necessarily yet conceptualize, which I think a lot of them are smart enough to know it takes work to look like that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That, they could say, well, she's encouraging me to do this class so I can achieve this, or encouraging me in this way. I think I can take her advice. I could trust her.
Yes. Yes. And that's obviously a very big goal, is that I want to make sure that they feel that I'm relevant,
Mhm.
that that everything that I say is really from the heart and for their best interests. And that's part of the reason why I love what I do. I'm fortunate to be at a school site now. It's a little bit smaller, so I know the kids very well, and
Aw.
helping them make life decisions, because sometimes they really do make some big
Yeah.
decisions as they leave high school, that they will really come in and say, I just want to talk to you about this. Like, before I make this decision, I just want to know what you think. And
Mm.
that makes me very proud that they feel that what I have to say is really, it really is individual on who they are, and what I've seen them do and who they've become. That's how I guide them. I don't guide them based on what my school district tells me every kid's supposed to do when they leave high school, because the reality is there is no one way to live your life. So
Exactly.
love encouraging them to find their passion and to go after what they feel they want to do as a young person, and not worry about everybody else.
That's really wonderful. I can think back to my time in high school and how amazing it was to have the support of faculty in my journey and decisions that I made. Like, I feel really grateful that I had someone, multiple people like yourself, who weren't like, this is what you need to do. It was like, yeah, why don't we try this? Or I encourage you to do that. And it was just very uplifting. I always felt like I never felt restricted to an idea or ideal. It was just I would share some of my passions and they'd encourage it. So I think it's really special that you have that role in other people's lives as well.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it. I do. It's been a wonderful journey, and eventually it's going to come to an end. And that's why I really feel like there's
Aw.
something, the universe is calling me to
Oh yeah.
do something different. And I, I'm a big believer in manifesting what you like. You need to throw it out to the universe
Hmm.
and tell it what you're ready for. And I really feel like I'm ready to do something different, but and keep it in this whole coaching
Sure.
lifestyle journey. I feel like that's what's next.
I love that. Yeah, I think that there's a really great place for you in doing that because clearly you can make such a big impact. You already have, and you'll continue to do that. And everything that you've shared today too, it's meant a lot to me, and I know it'll make an impact on listeners or people watching this as well. So, before we wrap up, I would love to ask you for your best advice. So, what is your best advice for someone who has never competed before but wants to? And then your best advice for somebody who is on their road to pro?
My best advice for somebody who has never competed is to go for it. Surround yourself with people who encourage you and support you, and do it. You will never regret it. Even though I look back sometimes at those pictures, I'm like, I still think it's because I did that I'm doing this. So go for it. Surround yourself with people who have the knowledge to help you. Get a coach. Um, study the sport, but just go for it, because we all start somewhere, and it doesn't matter where you start, but just starting could be life changing. It was literally life changing for me. So I feel like it could be for anybody. And for some it could be just a one and done, right? But you
Yeah.
did it. You took a risk. So take the risk and go for it. Just make sure you surround yourself with positive people that are helping you become a better person, and don't get in a situation where if something doesn't feel right or doesn't feel safe or healthy, then you need to find somebody else to support you, because this can be a very healthy journey with the right people. And then
Great.
somebody who's going for your pro card, I kind of wish, part of me wishes that I didn't like the card, don't let the card be your goal. The card, well, it's the coolest thing to carry through the airport that day after you win it.
Yeah.
Um, don't let that be what drives you. Let the journey, let the the grind, the daily 1% better, 1% better be what keeps you going. And if you don't win it, keep going, because it isn't really the card that's going to change your life. It's the journey that's going to make the difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that so much and really encompasses so much of what we talked about today. So I'd love for people to be able to connect with you, follow your journey, maybe soon get the opportunity to work with you as well. So how can people connect with you?
So I am on Instagram. It's Sandy Taylor RV, IFBB Pro on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure my account is public. So I'm there. I'm on Facebook too. I usually do a little bit more on Instagram than I do on Facebook. But you can reach out to me. You can send me a message, and I'll be glad to connect with you there. One thing I did want to say before we cut this off.
Yeah.
I mental health and getting support during times of struggle is super important to me. So while I had so many things that um helped me get through my grief and my journey, I still sought the professional help of a counselor. So
Okay.
I want to make sure that people know that it's normal. It's the best thing you could do for yourself sometimes when you're struggling, is to make sure that you provide professional help along with your supportive family and friends. So
Oh,
that's a big piece of what I wanted to make sure that I shared today, was
love
that
that.
don't be embarrassed or ashamed to reach out when you're struggling.
I'm really glad you said that. Thank you for saying that. And I think that's very important and obviously something I can appreciate too as a mental health counselor.
Yeah.
That's a very good word. So we'll put your Instagram link in the show notes page. You guys, that's always on celestial.fit/podcast. If you're listening right away, it'll be at the top of the page. If you're listening in the future, scroll down to the category section, which is alphabetized. Not only will you see how to connect with us, but you're also going to see a full summary of our episode, a bulleted list of the topics we covered, episode timestamps, so you can go back, listen to your favorite parts, or share it with your friends, your family, your teammates. Let them know what resonated with you. And of course, tag us as you listen or after. It goes a long way. Obviously, for the show, yeah, it's great for exposure, but beyond that, it's for the athletes because, they come on here vulnerably, share their story. One day that could be you. And to have more connections formed in the industry is really a beautiful thing. So I encourage you to let us know what you thought about the episode, whether that's privately or just tagging us would be amazing. So, with all that being said, Sandy, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thank
It
you for
was,
including me.
oh, of course, it was my pleasure, truly. And to everybody listening, I hope y'all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world where you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.